I'm going to show you how to easily find profitable niches on Amazon KDP. Now, this right here, the word profitable, that's your keyword. This is what we're looking for. We're not just looking for any niche. We're actually looking for a profitable niche. Now, how do we know if a niche is going to be profitable or not? Well, I actually like to use something called the research triangle. Now, this is something I completely made up, but it consists of 3 different parts. If you can get these 3 parts correctly, and obviously I'm going to show you how to do that, but once you get those 3 parts correctly, then you know exactly how to find profitable niches. Now, bear in mind, it's not just about finding a niche. It's about finding a profitable niche. We want a niche that can give us money. Now, why is this so important? Because if you don't do the right niche, it's kind of like you have a house and you're just building it on quicksand. Now, if you're building a house on quicksand, your whole house is going to sink. Now, guess what? It doesn't matter what type of paint you used. So I don't care what color your house is. Doesn't matter what paint you use. Doesn't matter what material you use. It doesn't matter what the decorations inside look like. You don't have a house. It doesn't matter. It's going to collapse because you're building your house on quicksand. That's exactly the same as your book. It doesn't matter how good your book is, how good your book cover is. It doesn't matter how good your interior is or the writing. It doesn't matter how good your marketing is. It doesn't matter how good your A+ content is. It doesn't matter how good your Amazon ads are. If you found a niche and you're publishing in a niche that can't be profitable, that doesn't have any traction, there's no market to sell to, well, might as well create a house on quicksand. It doesn't make any sense. So we want to make a book inside a profitable niche so we can actually get some money for our books. Now, how do we do that? Well, step 1 is actually to do the normal research. Now, I'll show you how to do each and every single one of these steps. This is what most people do, but then they skip 2 and 3. Now, if you're the type of publisher that does the research, but you skip 2 and 3, and I'll show you what 2 and 3 is in a bit, then you're basically just doing half the research. Now, obviously, if you do anything half, then well, you're not doing the whole thing. So if you're doing half the research, then what's the point? If you're going to do something, might as well do it 100%, right? So we don't want to do just basic, simple research. We want to do in-depth research, and that's where number 2 and 3 comes in. But let's just stick with 1 because I'm getting ahead of myself. What's research? Well, this is to figure out what niches are actually out there and what type of niches we want to publish in. Now, this is super simple. The first thing we need to figure out is what niche are we publishing in. Now, if you don't know what a niche is, it's basically just a broader genre for your book. Now, there's so many different types of niches, but for this example, let's just say we're going to do a cooking book. So a cookbook is one type of niche. Great. Now, have we figured out what niche we're going to publish in? No. We just figured out the niche of the book, but there's other things to look at as well. Now, cookbook is super broad. So a cookbook can literally be any cookbook. So what we want to ask next is what type of cookbook are we making? In other words, what sub-niche are we going to publish it? Now, sub-niche is one layer underneath. If niche is the umbrella, then sub-niche is the layers underneath. If this is the umbrella, don't know if this is what umbrella looks like. It's almost there. Scary umbrella, but it's all good. Then if this is cookbook, then other types of cookbooks can come out of it. So we can have Indian cookbook, we can have Greek cookbook, we can have Mexican cookbook, we can have Italian cookbook, we can have all sorts of cookbooks, we can have a burger specific cookbook, we can have a high protein cookbook. So there's so many different types of cookbooks that we can make. So a niche is way too broad for us to make a decision if we're going to publish a cookbook or not. We need to figure out what type of cookbook are we going to publish. Now for this, let's just say that we're doing a sushi cookbook. Great. So now we're more targeted. Now we went from all the cookbooks in the niche to only the sushi cookbook. And then we eliminated all the Indian, Greek, Mexican, all the other cookbooks. So now when we're doing our research, we are more targeted. We're more accurate. This is what we want to target, sub-niches. Great. So now that we have our sushi cookbook, there's one more thing we need to ask ourselves because there can be many different types of sushi cookbooks. So we can have a sushi cookbook for beginners. There might be one for experts, people that are really good at making sushi and they want to get better. There can be one for kids. So essentially, we want to figure out who our target audience is. Because if we can figure out who our target audience is, first of all, we can figure out what book we're going to make. And then second of all, if the niche, sub-niche, and target audience of the book we're going to make has enough demand for us to even make money. Now, I'm not going to get ahead of myself because I'm going to talk about 2 and 3 in a bit. But let's just say our target audience is for beginners. Great. Now we can start moving on to the next steps because we found a niche that's targeted enough. Because we have our niche, then we have our sub-niche, the more targeted category of our book essentially, or the most targeted genre, what our book is about specifically, and then our target audience, who are we making this book for? So sub-niche is what our book is about, and target audience is who are we making this for? Now let's do a couple more examples just so you know exactly how to do niche research. Let's say we're doing relationships book. If we're doing a relationship book, great. There can be multiple different types of relationship books. We can have dating books, we can have parenting books, we can have getting over a divorce, we can get, maybe if your dog died, we can do a grieving book. There's so many different types of relationships. Now, this is just a broader niche. What we want to do is narrow down. So from relationship, how are we going to narrow it down? Well, let's just say we're doing specifically a dating book. Perfect. Now we narrowed it down. Now we know that we're not doing a grieving book. We're not doing a parenting book. We're not doing all the other type of relationship books. We're only doing a dating book. And now, even more importantly, who is this dating book for? This is what we need to figure out. We can do this for men, for women, for old people, for seniors. Let's just say that we're going to do it for divorced men, because now we have a more specific target audience. Now, when you can figure this out, it's so much easier to make a book because you know exactly what book you're making and for who you're making it for. So the whole process becomes a lot easier. Now, let's go to Computer Barry, and he's going to show you exactly how I do my research. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is actually search a niche. Now, let's just say our niche is going to be how to draw. Great. Let me actually open up a little whiteboard because I need to always have a whiteboard. Okay, so just like we talked about, we have our niche, then we have our sub-niche, and then we have our target audience. Now, first of all, we need to figure out what broad niche we're going to publish it. Now, let's just say we're going to do how to draw books. So the first thing I want to search is how to draw. Now, I'm guessing there's a fly somewhere here, so if there is a fly, just ignore it. But if you're searching for how to draw, there's not just one type of how to draw book. There's so many different things that you can learn how to draw. So here I'm just going to type in how to draw and see what pops up. So here I can see how to draw patterns, how to draw anime, how to draw animals. So these are 3 different types of sub-niches. So now I have animals, I have patterns. I'm writing with the mouse, so don't judge my writing. But I have animals, patterns, and I have anime. Great, so now we have 3 different sub-niches that we can test out later and whatever I want to show you how to do in a bit. But now we have all these different ones, and these aren't the only ones. But now you can see how we're getting more narrow. So now we get to pick which one specifically we want to make. And then finally, it's our target audience. Who do we want to make this for? So if I check out here, I see for kids, for kids, for kids. But again, we might want to do a grown-up one. Now let's just pick one of these. Let's just say how to draw animals. And then I can see we have for kids, we have for children. So it doesn't look like for adults pops up. Obviously, if I go for adults, there we go, it should pop up because it's probably a popular search term. But let's just say how to draw animals for kids. So now I can start researching this, and now I can see the next step that we want to make. So we found a how to draw book. We know that we're doing how to draw specifically animals. And then we also know that we want it for kids. So now we can move on to the next stage of research. But I want to let Whiteboard Barry talk to you about that. Okay, so we wrote down a bunch of niches, and now it's time to move on to step 2. This is where we can figure out if it's going to make us money or not. And this is called the validation step. We want to validate our niche. Essentially, this means, is it going to give us money? Guess what? If it's not going to give us money, are we going to publish the book in that niche? Probably not. If it is going to give us money, or if it can potentially give us money, because we're not psychics, we can't predict the future, we're just using data to see how likely we are to make money. So if it is likely that we're going to make money, should we publish in this niche? Probably. So how do we validate our niche? I'll show you exactly how to do that right now. First of all, I'll show you something that you don't do. And people are still talking about this, which makes 0 sense. Looking at the search results or the number on the search results. Who cares how many search results is in your niche? Who cares? Honestly, this is probably one of the most pointless things I've ever seen. Now, if you don't know what search results are, if you search anything on Amazon, let's say we search cookbook for beginners up here in the search bar, and a bunch of cookbook for beginners show up on the page, then up here in the corner, it's going to say, oh, there's 3,000 search results. This does not matter. It really doesn't matter. It does not affect anything when it comes to your research. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, Barry, you're wrong. It does matter. I'm very smart. It's actually your competition. This is not your competition. If you think you are 3,000 books to compete with, you're definitely wrong. 1,000,000% you're wrong. Because here's the thing with the search results. Let's say I search for something and then, yes, there's 15,000 different search results. This does not mean I have 15,000 competitors. This does not mean, hey, this is oversaturated or it doesn't work. Ooh. Nothing like that. Do you know what 15,000 means? Here's what 15,000 books actually means in the search results. So 15,000 books. What this means is that most of the books that popped up are irrelevant. And if you don't trust me, search any niche you want. Go on Amazon, search any niche you want, make it broad, make sure you try and get like 10, 15,000 search results, and then look at the books on page 2, on page 3, on page 4. Look at them. Are they all in the same niche, sub-niche, and target audience? Zero chance. Guarantee. I don't even know what niche you search, but I know Amazon. I've been doing this for way too long. So I guarantee you won't find the same books in the same niche. I get to search cookbook, and then by page 3, I'm going to start finding coloring books. That's what 15,000 results means. It just means, hey, how many random books are popping up? Second thing, most of the books are on page 2 and beyond. 15,000 books don't fit in page 1. Most of them are going to be page 2, and then page 3, 4, 5, 6, until page 100 or whatever, however many it takes to show 50,000 results. Now, guess what? Is anyone going page 3 or beyond? No. No one's going page 3 or beyond, right? Why would they? Have you ever been page 3? But Barry, I've been to... Okay, you're in the 0.001% that goes to page 3. You're the weird person. That's completely fine. You could be the weird person and the weird person as well. But I don't go to page 3. I barely get to page 1. But anyway, only the books on page 1 are actually considered your competitors. And not even all of them. I'll show you exactly what I mean. But since no one really goes on page 2 and barely anyone goes on page 3 and basically no one goes on the rest of the pages, then this number is irrelevant because most of the books of this number are on pages that no one's ever going to visit. It doesn't matter. So when you're looking at this search results number to figure out if it's a competitive niche or not, it's pointless. Most of the books are irrelevant. Most of the books are not even on page 1. They're in pages where your customers are not going to see. And guess what? This is the most important part. Most of the books are actually not selling. The ones in the niche that you're researching on, they're not selling. So if they're not selling, are they your competitors? Is your competitor someone that's not making any sales? No, that's not your competitor. They're not competing with anyone. They can't even compete with themselves. They're making no sales. 0 sales. How is someone making 0 sales your competitor? Now, guess what? Is everyone out of these 50,000 books making sales every single day? Guaranteed no. So most of the people here, pointless even looking at them. So since we don't look at the search results because they're all pointless, our competitors are the ones that are selling, not the ones that are not selling. Our competitors are also on page 1, maximum page 2, not books on page 17, 20, and 50. And then also our competitors are only relevant books. That means the same niche, same sub-niche, same target audience as us, not irrelevant books. So if I'm searching for a cookbook, I'm not expecting to find a princess coloring book. So search results don't matter. Now that we know what doesn't matter, what does matter? How do we validate our niche? Well, this is actually very, very simple. So here's what we want to do. Let's say we're validating the niche. What should we do? We'll do the dating for divorced men. Let's say the niche is dating for divorced men over 30. It's probably over 40. It might be. Anyway, it's okay. This is a random niche anyway. I didn't do any research before. This is all hypothetical here. But again, you can apply it to real life situations. But here's how we do the validation. So we're going to check our first initial competitors that are actually selling. So we're going to look at our competitors. These are the people on page 1, maximum page 2, the ones that are only selling, not the ones that are not selling. Our competitors are only books that are selling, not books that are not selling. It's very, very important. So we're going to take all our competitors, and then first thing we want to see is how many sales are each of them making. So we're going to go on Amazon. Let's say 30 books popped up. I searched this on Amazon, 30 books popped up. Then half of them are not selling and the other half are selling. Or let's just say only these 5 are selling just for simplicity's sake, so I don't have to draw 30 different books here. But all of these are selling. This guy might be selling 7 copies a day. This guy might be selling 3 copies a day. This guy might be selling 15 copies a day. This guy might be selling 1 copy a day. And then this guy might be selling 101 copies a day. Great. Now, what we can see here is if all of these books align with what we're searching for and the niche that we're trying to do, what can we see here based on these books? Are these books selling or not selling? Well, yes, they are selling. Now, what else? What else can we see? Well, we can see that there's a big difference in sales. So it's not just one book selling, it's actually multiple books selling. So this proves that if we can come in, we can actually take a little piece of the pie because there's so many different books to compete with. Now, if we went through the niche and then only 2 books were selling out of the entire niche, then that would be a little bit more difficult. We don't have as many pieces of data that says that we can make money. But right now here, what I can see is multiple books selling, and I can see it selling at a different range as well. So we have books selling 1 copy a day all the way up to 100 copies a day. So if I publish my book and it's good enough to compete with these guys, or even better, then I know that I can probably make a sale, at least a minimum 1 sale a day, all the way up to 100 sales a day. This is my range. So if my book is bad, I might make 1 sale a day. If it's a little bit better, I might make 3. If it's a little bit better, I might make 15. If it's better than this guy, then I'll make over 100, or I'll just steal their sales. So there's a good variation there of sales. Now, what we're really looking for here is simply demand. Is there demand for these books? If you go in the niche and you can't find any books that are selling, then guess what? No one really wants to buy those books. There is no market for that book. Now, if we see demand, then we know that there's a market for that book. This is who we're selling to. We're selling to the market. If the market doesn't exist, then we have no one to sell to. So we need to make sure that there are books selling, and then we also need to make sure that the books that are selling have a variation of sales, because that means we can come in and instantly start making 1 sale a day, or 3 sales a day, or 7 sales a day, even if our book is not that powerful. And then once our book becomes more and more powerful, then we can scale up to 15 sales a day and even 100 sales a day. This is what the niche proves, that there is a market looking for our book. If we go in, no one's making sales, there is no market, no point in publishing in it. So if there's a market, essentially there's just people willing to buy. Now, it's your responsibility to actually make a good book that can compete. But before I go into that, I'm going to go to Computer Barry so you can show you how to actually validate a niche. Okay, so let's say this niche is a niche that, let's say we want to publish in. Now we need to validate it, see if it's even a good niche to publish in. Now, normally I have this extension that gives me the ABSR. So I'm going to kill this fly as well. I can't kill it though. I feel bad for killing flies, but I'll just let it. You're going to see the fly around, just let it fly around. Might be a little bit distracting, but I'm not going to kill a fly. But anyway, let's just say we're going to do a how to draw animal. I want to kill it. I'm going to fucking kill it. I'm going to kill the fly. I don't know how to get it to go out. Ew, fly is gone now. Fly is gone. Okay, so we're going to do a how to draw animal book for kids. Now, what we want to see is, are these books selling? Now, can you see right here, 1,000 results? We don't care about the search results, because check this out. I'm going to go down here, and then let me just go on page 3. Let's see how many of these are how to draw animal book for kids. Now here, how to draw animals, great. This is, yep, all of these, yep. How to draw wild animals. Again, these are all animals. This is how to draw kawaii. So it's halfway there. But the more you go, the deeper you go in, you're going to start to see more and more irrelevant books that pop up. So this is only cats. Again, it's animals, but it's not animals, it's only cats. Right here is people. People and animals, completely separate things. Right here, cute beasts, again, different thing. But if I keep going, you're going to see more and more irrelevant books. And then what you're also going to see is books that are not making any sales. Like this guy here is not your competitor. He has no reviews, nothing. This guy here, not your competitor. No reviews, very bad cover, not going to work. So you can see that the deeper you go in, the less relevant the search results are. Now, yes, it might be relevant. The first page is super important because you can see all the strong competitors, because these are the guys that are selling. But then once you reach page 2, page 3, they're not really selling. They're not very relevant. They're not your competitors. Your competitors are usually on page 1, maximum page 2. So the search results are pointless to look at. Now, normally I have my ABSR extension here, but it's not working. Let me just quickly fix it and get back to you. There we go. I open a new Google browser. So if you go here on Chrome, just Google Chrome. I just use Google Chrome. But if you go on Chrome extensions, or I think it's Web Store, something like that. There we go, Chrome Web Store. If you go on Chrome Web Store and you go up here, DS, Amazon, Quick View, then great. I think it's this one here. This is what I use. So if you just install this on your Google Chrome, every time you go on Amazon, then you can see this little ABSR right here. And this is how you can see how much money you can make in a niche. If I go up here, Amazon or ABSR sales calculator, there should be one from Kindlepreneur. That's the one I like to use, Kindlepreneur. And then here, let's just say we're on Amazon.com. So you can see right here, wait, we don't want this. Paperback, so we're looking at paperbacks, Amazon.com, and then you can put the rank, the ABSR rank. So this one here, 11,595. We're going to go 11,595. It's selling 12 copies a day. So validation, there's one competitor selling. Now this one's 31,000. You can see 31,365, 31,365, 7 books a day. And you can do this for the books on page 1. And then you can start to see which ones are selling, which ones aren't selling. Now, based on the ABSRs, I can see all of these guys are selling. These guys are selling. This guy's not selling. 303, 340. Check this out, 303, 340. less than a book a day. So he's not selling anything. We want to see multiple sales a day. And then you can start to extract the competitors that are selling and the competitors that aren't selling. We only care about the guys that are selling. Now, once we do have the guys that are selling, that's when we can move on to the next step. Now, I want to go back to Whiteboard Barry to tell you about the next step. Great. So now we validated our niche and we know that it's going to make us money. What can we do now? Well, this is the final step to figure out if we should even publish in this niche or not. Now, most people just stop right here and then that's it. I'm going to see if I'm going to publish in this niche. I'll publish the book and then hopefully it makes money. That's not where we want to stop. We're serious publishers. You're watching Barry right now, so we're going to go the extra step. What is the extra step? Well, here's what most publishers do. They do the research, then they validate the niche. Hey, I think I can make money. In fact, most publishers don't even validate the niche. They just do research and start publishing. If you're doing that, you're not really treating this as a business. You're literally just shotgunning it. So we validate the niche and then they go straight into publishing the book or creating the book. This is wrong because guess what? You don't even know what book you're making. You know what your niche is, great. You know that a niche can make you money, but you don't know what book you're going to make. You don't even have the visualization of your book. I don't know how to explain this, but you don't have the book ready yet. It's not crystal clear in your mind what you're making. And guess what? When you're making a book, you're not making it for yourself. No one cares about you. Literally, no one cares about you. And I'm not saying this in a mean way. I'm saying this to drop your ego. No one cares about your book apart from your customers. So when you're making a book, you need to make a book for your customers, not for you. No one cares about your book. No one cares about you. No one cares about your story, what you've been through. No one cares about how much effort you put in your book. No one cares where you found the book, what editor, how much you paid for your book. No one cares about that. The only thing people care about is if that book that you created is going to serve them. They only care if your book is valuable. Now, how do you create a valuable book? Well, value it's all perception anyway. At the end of the day, you pay like 200K for a Lamborghini, and at the end of the day, it's just a piece of metal with wheels, but you still pay 200K. Now, before you get mad, I know the values of Lamborghinis, and I get it. I used to be a car guy as well, but at the end of the day, you're still paying 200K, or even sometimes I think the Euros is like 400K for a piece of metal with wheels. So when we're making things, we need to create a book that's going to serve our target audience, but also a valuable creation. Now, in order to make a valuable book or a valuable creation, we need to figure out what the person wants. If we don't know what the person wants, how are we going to give them what they want? So if we don't figure out what the person wants, then we're creating a book out of our own ego, out of what we want or what we think the person wants. Now, keyword is think. When you're thinking, only you are thinking. But when you're doing research, because what we need to talk about here is market research. This is what we need to do. This is what most people are just completely skipping. This is so important because this is how you actually start making money on Amazon KDP with the correct market research. So if you do market research, then you're going to have your customer. Let's say, I can't think of a good example, but let's say you're opening up an ice cream shop. Okay. And then there's a new location and you don't know what type of ice cream. You have a limited budget, so you can't buy 30, 40, 50 different flavors of ice cream. You want to buy the ones that are being sold the most, right? Because then you're going to have less flavors, but the ones that are being sold the most. So what you can do is, well, you have two options. Option one, buy all 30 flavors and then test it for yourself to see which one customers like the most. Correct? Correct. And then you can see chocolate doesn't sell so well, vanilla doesn't sell, strawberry might sell really good, banana might sell good, and then mango doesn't sell good. So now you know strawberry and banana, that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to start putting more strawberry and more banana flavors so you can make more money. Make sense? I hope so. Now, the second way is go to your competitors, go to all the other ice cream shops, and then look at their data. Now, again, this is hypothetical. I'm not saying walk into an ice cream shop and go to the CEO and say, hey, give me your data for what ice cream sells the most. That's not what I'm saying to do. But hypothetically speaking, if you go on your competitors, then you can see what flavors they're selling the most. So now you don't have to spend money buying the flavors or testing everything yourself. You can see what already works out there because they're the same audience that you're trying to serve. That's exactly what we want to do with Amazon KDP. And we can do that with so many different ways. Now, your competitors have already published their books and they're already making money from their books. So what you can do is you can use them to see what they're doing good and what they're doing wrong. And guess what you can do? When you're now making your book, because you're currently now creating your book, then all the good things that you see from your competitors, Are you going to add that to your book? Of course, because the target audience, your audience has told you, yes, we like this. And because you're making a book for your audience, you're going to put the thing they like in your book. Make sense? I hope so. Now, what about the things that aren't good? What are you going to do with that? Well, first of all, you're not going to add them in your book. But if you are going to add them in your book, you want to flip it into something good. So one of the ways that I like to see what my competitors are doing is by looking at the reviews. Now, usually with some niches in the reviews, the customers they might say something like, oh, there's black and white images only. I wish there was colored images. Great. The fact that they have black and white images, that's a negative. So what we want to do is not have black and white images, but switch it to a positive. So we want to have colored images. Great. Now we can start putting colored images in our book. What is that going to do for our book? If we're looking at all the other people and it's just saying bad things about the books, and then we take those bad things and put them and make them good in our book, what does that say about our book? Well, our book ends up becoming more valuable. And because it's more valuable, here's what's going to happen. Here's why this is so important. Now, when you're shopping on Amazon, you don't actually just click on one book. Here's what all your customers are going to be doing. This is the most important thing. They're going to be comparing. They're comparing your book with all the other books in the niche that are selling. So there's a reason the other books are selling. And it's because they're doing something good, or they have something the customer wants, or it resonates with the customer. Now, when you publish your new book, what everyone's going to do is compare your book with the ones that are out there already selling. Now, if they compare your book and your one is less valuable, are they going to buy your book? Probably not, because why would anyone buy something less valuable? If they compare your book and your book is more valuable than the competitors that are out there, are they going to buy your book? Of course they are, because your book is more valuable. You offer more, or you just offer more value in general. Now, talking about value and how to offer more value and how to convey the value effectively, that's a different subject. But we want to make a more valuable book than what's already out there. Now, if all of these guys are making money and then our book is very, very valuable, then we might be able to take over these guys. So if our book is way more valuable than these 4 books, then great. When we enter the niche with our brand new book, we can start making a lot of money. Why? Because we already have a more valuable book than what's already out there. It might not be more valuable than this, so we might struggle to get some sales from this, but customers will be comparing our book with this book. When they're comparing it with these, they're going to say, okay, yes, Barry's book is the obvious choice because these books are not so good. But then when they're comparing my book with this book, that's where we might struggle. So that's why it's very important our book is valuable. Now, if our book is mediocre, then we might only compete with a few of them. So we might start stealing sales from these guys, but not from these guys. So again, we're going to make less sales overall because we're not gaining as much market share. And we can't gain as much market share because we don't have a book that's valuable than what's already out there, or more valuable than what's already out there. It's super important to make it valuable, and you can only make it valuable if you know what the customer wants by doing the correct market research. Now, if your book is absolutely terrible, then sure, it might make a little bit of money, but not so much. You might only steal sales from this guy, and then it's going to be way, way harder for you to gain traction. Value is super, super important. Now, there's so many ways you can see how to actually make your book better than the rest. So many ways to do market research. Check out the reviews on Amazon. Reviews are going to tell you everything. These are customers that already bought the books in your niche, so you don't have to buy them yourself. You don't have to see them yourself. They're literally telling you everything, all the good and all the bad. These are real customers. Read the reviews. When you're publishing a book, there's probably Facebook pages out there with communities of people that are going to buy your book. So you can see how they talk, what they comment on Facebook, what do they talk about, what do they want to see in the book, what do they not want to see in the book. You can basically figure out your audience through Facebook pages and a lot of other social media as well. You can literally go on YouTube videos, look at the comments on YouTube, go on Reddit, look at Instagram, go on Pinterest. What is your audience doing? What is your audience like? The more you understand your audience, the better book you can make. Now, let's go to the computer. Barry is going to show you how to do some market research very, very quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to show you very, very roughly what I would do. Obviously, you're going to treat this way more seriously than I am. I'm just making a video here to show you, but you're going to go deeper, super, super deep into your niche to figure out all the bad things of your competitors and the good things of your competitors so you can make the best book. So let me just go ahead and open this one because it's selling. Let me open this one because it's selling. Let me just go down and open some random ones. Let's see. Oh, it's not going to let me read the reviews because I need to sign in to actually read the reviews. But you can see what I can do is analyze the listing myself. this listing looks really, really good. A+ content looks really, really good as well. Right here, they have videos, so I can see what it looks like inside. And the first thing I see is that everything's black and white. So maybe I'm thinking, hey, I can make my own colors. Now, obviously, I know before you start commenting, oh, but printing costs are higher and blah, blah, blah. I understand there's other research things that you need to do to figure out if it makes sense for you to do a colored book. That's a separate video. But from these videos, I can see what the book looks like, and then I can see how to improve it. Now, if I go down, I can also look at the reviews. And the most important ones are the negative reviews. Sometimes it's fake, but sometimes they're real. And the negative reviews will tell you all the bad things about the book, so then you don't do it with your book. You can do good things with your book. So you can go ahead and look at the reviews, see what they're saying, and you can see book was overpriced, in my opinion. Drawings are not great. Unable to return. Doesn't really say anything. It's just his opinion. It doesn't actually say anything about the book. So this is probably not a good review that you can use to improve your book. This one here, good book, but not for beginners. So it's not a really simple learning to draw book for absolute beginners. My girl is 9 and has she wants to draw properly, blah, blah, blah. Steps are too simplified. Great. Now that when we make our book, then we can make the steps a little bit more simple. Because it's saying right here, hey, it's not as simple. I'm guessing they're skipping steps and things like that. There we go. So they have 4 steps, very similar animals scattered, so we can have a better variation of animals. Again, can you see we're trying to make our one better than what's already out there. And there's also 3 different drawing styles. It looks like the material is sourced from 3 different illustrators. Great. So there's no consistency. That's what they're saying. So we want to have a more consistent book. Or if we want to have different types of styles, again, you can do the research, see if that's appropriate for the niche. But we're just extracting as much information as possible to see how we can make our book better. So great. So we found our niche, we researched it, we saw that there's enough demand, we saw that there's a lot of them selling. So if we do make a book, we can make sales as long as the book is better than what's already out there, or it can compete with what's already out there based on value. So that's how we do the research. Obviously, it gets a little bit more complicated. If you want to go deeper, then I can show you even more deeper ways, but I'll get back to Whiteboard Barry. He'll explain everything to you. So now we did our research, we validated our niche, so it can make us money. There is enough demand. And then we did our market research to figure out what book our target audience wants. So we figured out what book to make, how much money can it make us, and if it is going to make us money, what kind of book do we have to make in order to make the money. This is the formula for finding profitable niches. Now, if you want to figure out how I help clients publish books that make over 100 sales a day with one book, then just click on the link in the description. I can help you achieve the same. And if you want to continue watching YouTube videos, click on this video that just popped up now. You're going to find it super, super valuable. But anyway, go out there and make a bunch of money on KDP.